from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Beth. Hey, we were just talking about the egg sandwich. Beth had made some egg sandwiches, and so this is the egg sandwich podcast now.
Yeah, I used to like mustard on my egg sandwiches. Now I like mayonnaise.
You could also go ahead.
I was going to say this podcast is brought to you by Young's Nugs.
Yeah.
The official sponsor.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Young's Nugs.
Eggs are expensive these days, you guys, so get on that.
Right.
Yeah, I read somewhere that they were going for like $10 somewhere for like a dozen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys I haven't seen it. I've only heard about it.
That's crazy. And yeah, Costco doesn't even sell eggs right now at all.
No,
it's completely vacant area inside Costco. I'm like, I go over there and I'm like, it's going to be like eggs here and I can get 5 dozen. There were no eggs. I was very disappointed.
Well, they were just in the news for having recalls on all of their eggs.
Right. Oh, gosh. That's crazy.
People were getting very, very ill.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
So,
well, for anybody that wants eggs, they can email us at methodisttothemadness@gmail.com and ask about Young's Nugs. And maybe we could get them set up,
Yeah.
So other than selling all of your eggs, chicken or otherwise, Jessica, what's going on with you?
Well, yeah, we are. Our hens are laying. They're doing a very good job. And, I think we're averaging between 12 to 14 eggs a day from them. That's how many they're kind of giving us. It's slowly
that's amazing.
Going up a little bit because we have 17 new hens. And so we've only been getting we're at 10 from them, which means there's 7 more that we're waiting on, which we only eat 2 eggs each in the morning. So that's a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
Each day. And
yeah, wow.
It feels really good to be able to provide to our community in a way where, we take really good care of our chickens. We love our chickens. We love giving them treats like peppers and other things that, are really good for them. And so it's always nice to be able to give back to others with the things that we've been doing. And so
it's amazing.
Yeah. But other than that, things this past week, I'm feeling a lot better. I know I've mentioned I've been kind of congested, coughing, all that kind of stuff. I'm feeling a lot better, which is a great thing. But let me tell you, I am feeling this 3rd trimester. I'm feeling it emotionally, physically. I'll say mentally, because it's crazy, guys.
You're sharing a brain or something.
I'm losing it, actually. But someone else is getting my brain. But yeah, I'm definitely in for a ride these next few months. Well, couple of months, which is even crazier to say.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'm excited about is starting tomorrow night. Amber and I are doing they're called, I think it's called Labor and Love classes. It's at the hospital that we're going to be delivering at. And so I think it's 4 or 6 weeks It's like every Tuesday from 6:30 to, or 6 to 9. It's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. over in Valencia. And so 2 things. One, super excited to have an excuse to find somewhere to grab dinner together on Tuesday nights before.
Yeah.
And number 2, excited / nervous about what I'm going to be learning.
Mm-hmm.
Because my whole mindset is I don't want to watch any videos on birthing, and I hope they don't show any.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I like when somebody tells me this is going to be the worst moment of your entire life. And then I'm like, okay. And then they'll say, but then it's the greatest moment once it's all over. I can kind of mentally prepare myself for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see what I'm going to go through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
honestly.
otherwise I am not doing it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I feel like I would have no more free trial. I feel like I'll like think about that as I'm delivering and like have a panic attack or something. Like thinking about all of the things.
Oh yeah, right,
because
right.
If you don't have those actual images in your head, your brain can't flash to them in time.
Exactly. Plus, the goal is to wear headphones during the birth and just like blast Celine Dion or something. I don't know.
That actually sounds like a pretty good idea.
And then just yell at Amber, "What did you do to me?" And
this is all your fault, Amber. You did this to me.
While you're listening to Celine Dion. So the music's going in your ears. Amber's hearing that.
Her heart's going with what's happening.
Exactly. So anyways, so much to prepare for, but one last thing I'll mention is we got a baby monitor for that like looks down on the crib and we can see everything on our phone and it alerts you, when the baby moves and all that kind of stuff. Well, we plugged everything in and we left the house. We're sitting in church on Sunday and we're getting notifications that the baby's moving. And I have the baby with me. It's not outside of myself. Right? And so we kind of look at each other like, what? Is there something I don't know? Is our house haunted? Are we going to look back on these recordings and be like seeing things that we don't want to see? Well, come to find out, it's been windy. And so our chair hammocks that are on our front porch were causing shadows to move all over. And it was alerting the camera and making it making it look like the baby was moving. So we're like, okay, we'll have to close these curtains. Otherwise, there's a child moving in the crib that we don't know about yet.
I thought that was so funny. You're like, I'm pretty sure that the baby is part of me right now. Like,
yeah. This is the easy part.
Yeah. Containing it right now,
Yeah. So. The house right now, easy.
Yeah. Anybody want to babysit the baby? If anybody wants to babysit the baby right now, they're more than welcome to.
Okay, great. I'll be right over.
Because then you're just babysitting me as well, and I'm fine with that.
And you're like, oh, the baby wants some snacks. And then
I think the baby wants a milkshake. Anybody? Anyways.
Oh my gosh. That was
but
great.
That's kind of like my quick update for this past week. But what about you guys?
Nice.
How things been going?
So
been good.
Yeah. No. Okay, I will go and
yeah, Tim, why don't you go? Beth has a lot to contemplate right now.
Oh, okay. So the first thing is I'm extra tired today. I didn't get enough sleep last night, and so if if I start sounding like I'm dream talking about a surprise banana or something to that effect, then you know that it has something to do with the fact that I did not get enough sleep. And for those of you who were like extra special and you listened to our last episode, we were talking about bananas. And so, of course, I'm going to be dreaming about bananas when I'm talking about my update here if I start getting sleepy. So anyways, I do have some interesting updates regarding like realizations and so forth. So I remember that Beth thought it was really cool that I'm trying to crack the code when it comes to certain things, right? And so I guess today I basically feel like I'm like cracking the code when it comes to ADHD and like not having problems in that regard. The first is like last episode, I said something about the Pomodoro technique. But I realized that that's not the entire answer for me because so the Pomodoro technique is great for dealing with those like discomforts and things like associated with tasks. Like it actually gets you on track. Like you can actually act on a task for 25 minutes or something like that. And then you can have multiple Pomodoros to work on the task for longer. And you have those 5-minute breaks and all is harmonious and wonderful. But then I started thinking like, there are just times when I may not have the sense of agency to even employ the Pomodoro technique. Like I might just be in a state of like not focusing and not even focused enough to enough to put in the Pomodoro technique in general. So just by coincidence, I started listening to techno music and finding that techno music actually helps me focus. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like I felt super productive one day after I'd listened to techno music for a while. And that was a very pleasant surprise. And then I realized that I basically can get the same effect from listening to pink noise, because eventually I got tired of listening to techno because it just over time it just becomes extremely stimulating. But pink noise is kind of like that, like sort of baseline stimulating, but not too stimulating. So you could listen to it for a long period of time. And so like I felt like I was amazed that like between techno music and pink noise, like I just increased my capability to focus, like just bring forth like more energy to actually do that. And then with like the Pomodoro technique, I can sort of like deal with those more uncomfortable kind of like tasks that I would not otherwise want to get started on. And so then with all of this in mind, I realized that maybe the whole answer is to just be more mindful or more self-aware of like when I'm like not able to focus or when I'm uncomfortable or anxious or something like that in regards to like my focusing ability. And that was just like huge for me to like realize that I didn't like it seems so obvious to me now, like, okay, like we should just tune into how we feel and we're thinking and like determine what is causing us problems. But now it's just like, yeah, so that was like a really amazing thing for me to figure out. And there's actually a big difference between mindfulness and self-awareness. I was not aware of this. Like I looked it up online, and mindfulness is basically focusing, or no, what is it? It's awareness of yourself in the present moment. And you typically will do that in a non-judgmental way. Like you'll observe your thoughts and feelings and so forth, and just let them pass and go through your mind and just kind of be in the moment. But self-awareness is actually trying to understand and like contemplate exactly why you have these feelings and thoughts. And you do so in a way that you're trying to come up with conclusions and sort of figure things out a little bit better. So I thought that was really fascinating. And with all of this in mind, I realized that it would be good for me to like start like periods of reflection, maybe after like at the end of the day or something like that. I can like maybe actually start journaling every day, because I was thinking that I could really use that sort of like outlet to like understand everything that's going on in my life. And then I thought about how I was doing the prayer journaling, but I wasn't able to stick with it. So maybe if I do the journaling every day and then I have the prayer journal, And then I just kind of like keep that in my mind, so to speak. Like when I want to talk to God, then open up my prayer journal. And then if I want to just kind of like sort of voice whatever thoughts that come to my head, then just do the regular journal. And I use this software called Red Notebook. I think I mentioned it before on the podcast for journaling on my computer. And that's been really nice. So, yeah. So hopefully I'll be able to like understand myself well enough that suddenly I can focus on everything, like anything that I want to accomplish. I just automatically, I solved ADHD. Oh, here we go. I'm aware enough of how I feel and think that I can just like, boom, like do all the things. So yeah. So this was like a big, like sort of self-reflection kind of update. And I know reaching out to God will help me so much as well. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's really great to hear, Tim. And yeah, journaling is huge. That's something that Amber and I started doing as of January 1. We don't like New Year's resolutions because we fail every time, because that's how good we are. And so we were like, well, let's just like no high expectations on this. We're going to get journals and set them on the side of the bed. And if we are able to, we'll just jot down, you know, just like word vomit what our day was.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And so I think I've only missed like 3 days of journaling since the first.
Really?
And there's times where I'm just writing like a sentence, like super tired, cheers.
That's great. That's so inspirational.
So I think that's great that you want to be able to do that. And I encourage you to stick with it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just very minimal, just stick with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then like the other nice thing besides like being able to reflect is like looking back. You can look back like 2 months prior and see what kind of like understandings you were having then versus now, and see like that growing that we were doing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm hoping that our future children will read back on these journals and go, I have the weirdest parents ever.
Oh, if my kids ever come across my journals, they definitely will be thinking that. They don't even read my journals, and that's already what they're thinking. So
right.
I'll go downhill from there. That's all I'm saying. So,
wait, do you journal too, Beth?
I used to be into scripture journaling, and I haven't for a while. But
yeah, you know, maybe I should just put it all together. Like, if I want to have a prayer in my journal, then I'll have a prayer in my journal, or just kind of have everything in the journal. And the Red Notebook software actually lets you tag things, you know, like hashtags, like you're on Twitter or something like that. You can actually use the pound sign with the something. So I could be like pound prayer, and then or hashtag prayer, I should be saying.
Pound prayer.
Pound prayer.
Sounds so young and hip, Tim.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm trying to be all hip, you know.
Oh, I love it. That's great. That's great. But don't put any high expectations on it, because then it's like so easy to feel defeat.
Yeah, maybe, you know what? The lowest, I'll put the absolute lowest expectation, put a period for that day.
Totally.
Then I'll probably just start typing in it every day. If I just like, I got to put my period in my journal today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So what do you have for us, Beth? You have
we're ready
excitement
for you,
and
Beth.
wonders.
Sounds that you want to release.
Any what?
Pounds? The pound sign?
Oh,
yeah, the pound sign.
Red pounds, and I was like, I mean, yeah, but I don't know how you're going to help me with that right in this moment.
Oh, I just got it. I just realized what that meant. I
always want to release some pounds, but well,
listen, if you want to join me in trying to figure that out, I'm all about it. So
okay, yeah,
we can do it.
I mean, Right now, that's the least of your concerns, Jessica.
Well, it still could involve, like, I don't know.
I'm gonna walk.
Walking.
Yeah, I know. You're not wrong.
Well, you could be talking about currency or something like that. The pounds is a form of currency, I think,
yeah.
right?
Not the euro now?
Yeah. Wait, what?
You're what?
Well, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but since the new year, I have been doing a soft launch of 2025.
What does that mean?
I will explain. I will tell you, Tim.
Oh, good.
Thanks for asking. So, a soft launch of the year is like, I just started thinking about what I wanted to accomplish, never once saying the word new resolution because, again, it makes me feel too badly about myself when I quit my resolution. So I'm not using that word, but I decided that I wanted to try to get a more stable workout routine and, start eating better. So what that looks like right now is I'm wearing my Apple Watch every day and I'm still getting my exercises done. And but I might, have a beer while I'm doing my workout.
That actually is a good idea.
So, plus and it was mostly because I just wanted to still be on vacation while my kids were still home. But I also wanted to use it as a way to kind of like think about, how I want this year to go. And I know a lot of people, I think maybe Pastor Jim was the one who brought this idea to my mind, but you pick a word for the year that you want to like represent yourself or, your goals or whatever. And I'm still having a hard time. Well, actually, I couldn't decide what my word should be for this year, but now it's so obvious it's staring me in the face. So my word for this year is going to be boundaries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Very fitting.
That's wonderful.
I was like, what could possibly be my word this year? No, that's going to be it. But also, I think there's a book by Mel Robbins called The Let Them Theory. Mm-hmm. And I'm following that as well. I haven't read the book, but I found just a little excerpt from the internet of basically what the Let Them Theory is about. And basically it's, if they want to leave, let them. If they choose someone else, let them. If they don't support you, let them. If they don't invite you, let them. Stop wasting your energy trying to control or change other people. Let them show you who they really are, and then you can choose what you do next. I've wasted so much time just trying to explain my side of things to people just for them not to believe me anyway. So I've decided, everybody can like believe what they want to believe, but I know who I am as a person. So I'm not.
That's awesome.
Keep trying to explain myself to people if they're going to be set on not understanding me anyway. So I'm going to save my breath and save my peace. And that also fits in with the boundaries. So,
that's awesome, Beth. Actually, that's one reason why I decided to start doing journaling, because I felt like I think I told like two people something and totally different things. And I felt like I didn't get the understanding that I was looking for. And maybe it's just, different periods in people's lives and stuff like that. It just sometimes it doesn't work out. So, I can totally relate to what you're talking about. It's like, let them respond how they feel led to respond to you, but you have those boundaries for yourself to protect yourself and so forth. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I've been, I've closed all 3 of my rings on my Apple Watch every single day except for today.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And I'm trying to stay on top of my Finch app, which is like a self-care app that helps me to get out of bed and, take my medication and all that. So I'm not saying I want to see how long of a streak I can get with both of them. I'm not saying resolution. I'm not saying I'm going to do it every single day until 2026, because I did 30 days of yoga in a row one time and then never did yoga again. So I know what I'm capable of or not capable of.
I love it.
That's all that's been going on with me.
I love that.
Oh, but Owen was supposed to go to school today, but he was sick. So I went to the doctor and.
Oh, okay. I hope he feels better.
Yeah, I think they gave him an inhaler with albuterol in it, so I think he'll.
Oh, that's good.
Cool.
But since the kids started school this week, now it's the full launch of the new year. We're feet ahead.
That's fascinating.
I guess I never thought about it like that, but I guess I kind of felt like that because Amber went back to work today, and I was like, "Well, I guess I got to get back to work." But I've been back since last week, so. Anyways.
Yeah, I know. Work really is a state of mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But
hey, Beth, you said something about having the word for the year for your New Year's understanding. That's perfect timing because I was just talking about a realization here, and maybe my word for this year is self-awareness. Yeah, because I think that will resolve what I see as
everything.
All my problems. I'm just going to cut and dry, just tell you, it's going to solve all my problems being self-aware.
It's going to solve every single one of your problems.
Indeed.
And other people's. World peace.
Yes.
And if you want, Tim, you can write it on a like a sticky note or a piece of paper or decorate a pretty sign with your word.
Oh, cool.
Where you can see it so you can remember what you're trying to accomplish for the year.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Awesome.
Yeah. I love it. Look at us changing.
Yeah, we're like 2 weeks into January here. I don't even think we said Happy New Year to.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.
For some reason, no, actually, this is really good because I just had this conversation with some of my coworkers today. I said, when do we stop saying Happy New Year? And they agree. Well, one of them said that probably at the 2-week mark is when you might want to stop saying Happy New Year, potentially. And you know what? That's exactly what we're doing. We're saying Happy New Year at the 2-week mark, and then we won't say it. We won't need to say it anymore. We got all our listeners got the Happy New Year that they were hoping for. So,
and then it's good luck.
Yeah. You're on your own.
Yep.
Get
out of here.
Godspeed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that altogether everyone is focusing on not only boundaries for themselves, but also just working on themselves in some way. I feel like we're all just really trying to become better human beings. And
wow,
what awesome, it's nice to think about being able to see you guys each week, knowing that we all are just really wanting what's best at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's nice to feel encouraged by you too with that kind of stuff. So
yeah, same to you, Jessica.
Yeah, same to you. And it's also, I feel like we don't want just what's best for ourselves, but what's best for the greater good.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's, speaking of greater good.
Yes.
Lots happening at the church. We've had a lot of things happening in California as well. So I would like to go ahead and highlight ways that you can help the victims of the wildfires. And this is all through CalPAC. So there's a few ways that you can assist those. And one is to donate to the annual conferences LA Fires Recovery Fund. And another way is by donating high capacity generators and bottled water, maybe if they could borrow those. And then another way is to give to the UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief. And then the North District of the CalPAC UMC is collecting money to buy gift cards. And if any of these sound of interest to you that you would like to be able to donate, please email us at methodisttothemadness@gmail.com, and we can give you the direct information on how you can assist. So with any of those, we'd be more than happy to extend that. And in other news, we have a couple things coming up this weekend, but I do know that I think on Wednesday is Food for Thought, and it's at 6 p.m. I don't think there's Kids Club.
Wait, what? Kids Club?
Kids Club is not, because that's the last.
It would be the 22nd.
Yeah. So, but on the 16th, this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. in the social hall is the senior luncheon. If you're not a senior, that is the so-called senior where you're over 55. That when you're considered a senior?
I don't even know. 55, 59 and a half, 62, 65. Really
I mean, I feel like when you're a senior, you're like, I'm 80 now. I'm a senior.
Yeah.
Just put on a gray fake mustache and hope for the best.
Yeah. I was going to say, even if you're a senior in high school or college, show up.
They're turning away people.
Yeah. Yep. What are they going to do?
As long as you RSVP ahead of time first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's food for you.
For sure.
17.
And then on Saturday, there's a couple things going on. The first thing is from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The quilters are meeting in the social hall. And then directly after the quilters are meeting at 1 o'clock p.m. in the fireside room is POMC 101. So that's a busy time at the church. Next is Messy Church. That's on this next Sunday on the 19th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The focus will be growing generosity, and there might be Methodist to the Madness merch available.
There might be.
Ooh, exciting.
Our trademark fund. And then I was going to mention something else. Oh, I'm just going to keep mentioning this until it happens. But I think Pastor Jim's going to try to include it in the newsletter and then also in the bulletin. But Amber and I are doing a baby shower at the church on February 2nd. It's Groundhog's Day, from 3 to 5 p.m. in the social hall, fellowship hall, friendship hall, whatever you want to call it. And so we're inviting our church family. All are welcome. I know traditionally baby showers from like the 1800s, only women are invited. But it's 2025, so we are inviting everybody, no matter how you identify. So we're excited about it. My mom's going to be flying out here to help put it on. And so we're excited to be able to do it at the church where
absolutely
we feel like we have such a great community. So
yeah.
But those are the church updates. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into the Methodist moment where we've got a couple things going on. And I know, Tim, you wanted to kick it off.
Yeah.
Beth is going to close it out. So
okay, that's great. So it's kind of like really good timing what I'm going to share here, because it kind of like falls into the sermon feedback content. So I'm going to be sharing the You Are Welcome Here message from the Palmdale UMC website. And this message was actually adapted from Our Lady Lourdes Catholic Church in Daytona Beach, Florida. So anyways, maybe you heard this before, maybe you haven't, but it's always a wonderful thing to hear. So I'm going to go ahead and start. You are welcome here. You are welcome here at Palmdale United Methodist Church, whomever you are. In the United Methodist Church, we practice open doors, open hearts, open minds. You are welcome if you are single, married, or divorced, gay or straight, filthy rich, or dirt poor. We welcome those who are crying newborns, skinny as a rail, or could afford to lose a few pounds. You are welcome here. You are welcome here if you're just browsing, just woke up, or just got out of jail. We don't mind if you're wearing a tie or a t-shirt, skinny jeans or yoga pants, pumps or chucks. You are welcome with whatever faith background you have, from whatever tradition or no tradition at all. You are welcome here no matter what your age, from our golden oldies to our adults who just haven't grown up yet, as well as to the teenagers who are growing up too fast. We welcome soccer moms and football fanatic dads, starving artists and tree huggers, coffee guzzlers and teetotalers, traditionalists and progressives, vegans and junk food aficionados. You're welcome here whether you're in recovery or are still addicted. We welcome you if you're having problems or are down in the dumps, or you don't like organized religion. We've been there too. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now, had religion shoved down their throat as a kid, or are just here to please mom. You are welcome here if you are inked, pierced, or both. We welcome the flexible, inflexible, tolerant, intolerant, those who laughed at, and those who gasped at this welcome. We hope that passersby, seekers, doubters, bleeding hearts, and you will feel right at home here. So, yeah, I think this really speaks close to home for me because I kind of felt like an outsider at pretty much every church that I went to. I mean, I didn't go to that many when I was searching, but this church, Palmdale United Methodist Church, I felt really welcome. Pastor Jim and Pastor John, they were both so welcoming to me when I showed up for the first time. And it was just, I had so many opportunities to get involved. It was just a really wonderful thing that my faith was just kind of beginning. And I had shown up at the Palmdale United Methodist Church and I felt so welcome that I really think that was the start of my faith journey. So yeah. And before this, I was skeptical, and I eventually found faith, but this was really the start of everything regarding my following after Jesus. This has just been such a blessing for me to be a part of Palmdale United Methodist Church, and now I'm here on this podcast with the two of you, Jessica and Beth. I mean, that's just super cool. So that's what I got.
Looks like we made it.
I love it. I didn't realize it talked about flexible because I'm not flexible at all. So, that's definitely something I could work on.
Yeah, I'm very intolerant. So, and I'm
Me too, but it's mostly lactose that I'm intolerant.
Right.
Yeah, speaking of lactose intolerance. But yeah, this is going to be really nice that we can talk more about our faith journey potentially in the sermon feedback. So it's a good way to kick it off.
For sure. Absolutely.
So Beth, you had something that you would like to share as well?
Yeah. And I have a feeling it'll segue nicely into the sermon feedback. So as many people may know, Cordelia, do you know how to say her last name? Do you know what her last name is?
I don't know what her last name is. I do know how to say her first name.
Cordelia.
It's German, and I don't want to butcher it.
I took German for a year.
It's not.
I took German for 4 years.
German.
German.
Wait.
I want to say Scheuermann.
Scheuermann.
And then we'll find out, and then we'll figure out who's right.
Oh yeah, we can find out next week. Spoilers, Tim. I asked a guest for our podcast next week, and you're finding out right now in real time,
live on the air,
live.
Whenever Jessica releases this. I was texting back and forth with Cordelia, who gave her testimony on Sunday, and I asked her if she would be interested in being a guest on our podcast. And that I haven't even listened to your podcast. How do I listen to it? So,
oh wow! So she's going to listen to this. Oh wow, that's so cool.
To do the podcast, and then asked for a link, and I sent it to her, and she's already listened to an episode. I think it's probably the latest episode. So I'm going to share the feedback that she gave us via text message. The first thing she said was, "You guys are so fun." Thank you. Yes, we really are.
Yes, thank you. Oh yeah.
And then she said, "You guys really are very funny, and you say some touching and wise things. I enjoyed listening. Is there any place that you let people make comments? If so, I hope you curate them and only allow uplifting comments." And then in parentheses, she wrote, "boundaries," which is my word of the year.
Yeah.
My word of every year, forever and ever. But that wasn't part of this message.
Oh.
But I'd love to give you some kudos if that's appropriate. I love your social COVID idea to make Christmas season more reasonable again. As an extrovert, I didn't realize how hard it was on my husband until he told me he hated the Christmas season. Yikes. And I want to that she's going to be singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star until she's blue in the face. LOL.
I'm laughing out loud.
Outie emoji. So I did tell her that we do in fact have an email address, methodiststothemadness@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
But are we encouraging them to leave reviews on Apple Podcasts or anything, or do we not really?
Yeah, they totally could. I mean, and because I guess it would be nice if somebody were trying to find a podcast to listen to, and I guess if you are an avid listener, we would love for you to share how this podcast has impacted your life, and maybe a positive impact, maybe it's one where there are concerns. We don't know.
I think that would
crash your car listening to us.
Yeah. So we welcome all feedback.
Actually, that would be really instrumental, actually, not only for getting more listeners, but also just community outreach and just sharing God's word and spirit with others. So that would be much appreciated to have reviews.
Another thing that you can do as a listener is talk to somebody from the church and ask them if they've listened to the podcast. And if they haven't, maybe share with them how they can listen to it.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that we didn't come up with this, how many episodes ago?
I don't know. We're not.
I don't know.
It's like standard
but it's okay.
Things word of mouth, reviews and stuff. Well, actually, we already have 1 million listeners, so I guess we didn't need that or something.
I told Cordelia that we often joke that we have between 3 to 1 million listeners. So she wrote back, and I told her that mostly the only people who email us is superfan Kathy Yankany. or Cathany Ankeny, as she's
Cathany.
And Don Morris with merch ideas. And my friend Nicole writes in sometimes too. But now we have another fan.
Yay! That's awesome.
So here's what she emailed us. Here's what her email says. Feedback from just one of your 1 million fans.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So here goes. Beth just forwarded me the link to your podcast. I am embarrassed that it took inviting me to be your next guest to get me to listen, but I am glad I did. I'm just going to interject real quick and tell you, Cordelia, you are not the first person that we've asked on the podcast who hasn't listened to the podcast. In that way, it's still raising awareness to others to get them to listen to the podcast. So it's all good. I don't think you should be embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed, because it even happens with our own spouses. They don't even listen to the podcast, and we invite them onto episodes.
That's true. But also, here's the thing. They hear us yammering on all the time anyway, so they don't need to listen.
Right.
And sometimes Craig will listen as we're recording, and then he'll have some feedback for me like, oh, did Tim really say? Yeah. She doesn't need to listen. She's already there. Yeah.
Yeah. Already there. Okay.
My
go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't call him a girl, but Jessica did send her to Amber to show that her spouse gets to listen. Our spouses get to listen in real time. And what's better than that? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing.
Yeah. Right. Nothing. Indeed.
Anyway, I also told Cordelia that the podcast is mostly us getting distracted and laughing a lot. And I say that as I get back to the email that I was reading.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. You guys really are funny. You also say some touching and wise things. I really enjoyed listening. To Jessica, I just have to say, I read both of her messages. By the time your baby is 5 years old, you will be sick and tired of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So enjoy it now. LOL.
Yes. That's funny.
One of the things that I have been thinking about in light of the LA fires is the effect of trauma on kids. It breaks my heart to think how many children in the LA area are living through such frightening times while their parents probably have limited bandwidth to be as patient, kind, and understanding as the kids are used to. I sure wish we could do more about things like that. I love that the church is an extended family. One of God's children's, Cordelia. Before we segue on, I forgot to share the new email that Don Morris sent, speaking to people who, and then I'll get back. But he made us a graphic, another merch idea that he was inspired by the podcast to make, and it looks like a college logo on it, and in the middle it says faith it till you make it, but then on the top it says Methodist to the madness, and the bottom says Scholarly School of Mathematics.
It's awesome, guys.
That's wonderful.
That's gonna be a t-shirt or something, so you want to let me know.
That's awesome.
So thanks, Don. Thanks for
thank you, Don. Thank you, Cordelia. That's great. I'm super happy about those things.
Yeah. But back to what Cordelia said, I've been thinking about the kids a lot too, especially Owen and I just had a conversation in the car today about little kids and how they can't really understand or process what's going on. They just know that their parents are really stressed out and they want to go home, but they can't go home because home doesn't exist, but their brains can't understand that. And
gosh,
really sad. So yeah, I think we should probably try to find ways to help with that. as well. So, and one of the podcasts that I listen to, that's not this one, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I'm pretty sure Conan O'Brien probably lost his house because his house was in the Palisades area as well. But he also lost his parents last month, right before Christmas, 3 days apart. His dad was,
my gosh,
his mom was 92. And his assistant, who is also on the podcast, lost her house, and she is married with two, I think her twins are 3 years old. She has 2 3-year-old twin boys and a dog, and their house was also burnt to the ground.
Gosh, that's terrible.
Like, it's so unfathomable. I think that's like, my mind is trying to comprehend.
My mind can't. My mind is like,
right. I mean, and I think what's been amazing is to see the community come together and try to find ways to take care of one another. I've just been so impressed by, it's amazing that there's places that are opening their businesses up to feed, firefighters, first responders, families, victims of the fires. But then it's also like donation centers that are like alerting people, we're full, we have no more, we're at capacity. And that's an amazing problem to have.
Wow.
Right. And so anyway, to see the overwhelming support in the community and the love of the community, trying to help as best as possible. I know people have been opening their homes to people. People have been opening their homes to animals that have not necessarily found their homes yet, that have been lost during all of this. So it's anyway, I think for us, we've been, the American Legion that I'm a member of, they've created an entire system over there off of, down at Post 43 down in Hollywood. They've been helping tremendously. And I don't know about you guys, but I still feel like I'm just kind of like, I feel helpless. I mean, yes, financially and, monetarily, you can donate, you can help in those ways to help to provide gift cards for families and stuff. But I'm more of like a physical, like wanting to help. And I can't do that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not allowing for me to do that. Like just being, the air quality is not good for me to be down there wearing a mask, being pregnant. And then physically, I can't do much, I'm not, it's not recommended for me to do much. And so I feel so helpless. But one thing that was encouraging was, we had just cleaned out our garage and we had all these extra tubs. And there was a lady that was, I think, reaching out. I think it was on Marketplace. Buy Nothing, Antelope Valley. I guess that's what it was.
It's free stuff.
It's free stuff. And there was a lady looking for tubs for a family that had just lost everything. And so Amber was able to give those away. And to me, I was like, okay, I feel like we're doing something. We're contributing in some way. And but I think so many people feel that way, though, even across the country, not even being in LA. They're like, what can I do? Like, how can I help? And,
I really saw somebody chastise someone else in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. I'll tell you, it was a Ted Lasso Facebook group, and they were posting about how they were excited that it looks like there's going to be a season 4 of Ted Lasso. And then somebody commented like, that's really great, but I think we should be focusing all of our energies on the fires going on in California. And I was like, where is this person even from? And they were from Norfolk, Virginia. And I was like, no, we want these distractions. We want to be excited that there's a new season of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
And I was like, I didn't really say anything because I try to stay out of stuff on the internet sometimes. But I was like, we don't need people chastising others when they're excited for things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So you know what? We can care about the fires and be praying and be sad that they're affecting people, but we can also be excited about the new season of Ted Lasso. I think for both you guys.
Right, exactly. That actually reminds me of the scripture that we shared on Young Adult Sunday regarding like there's a time for mourning, there's a time for joy, there's a time for everything, basically. You know, we could be at two places at once, and there's a time for all these things. We can't physically be at two places at once unless you have amazing teleportation powers that like breaks the time space continuum or something, but
which is something we also have access to. So
right, exactly. No, but that's good, Beth. Yeah, and Jessica, both of you actually. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that about the fires and everything like that. Yeah, I've noticed that in my work too. Like my supervisor or manager, they were like super nice, and they're like, "Hey, is any of you affected by the fire?" And I found out one of my coworkers is. And his mother needed to be evacuated because she lives close to that area. So, like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, this is kind of like a consciousness raiser for me to. Yeah, I do kind of feel like Jessica in the hands being tied thing, but we do the best that we can, right? It's like whether it's donating a little bit of money or maybe some of our belongings, and if we can be physically there, then that's awesome. But maybe we might not have those means. But if we can do something, then that'll be great. Even if it's just providing emotional support to somebody in need. I think so. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, speaking of
people in need.
Speaking of people in need,
people are in need of our feedback.
People are in need of our feedback for this Sunday's sermon. Like I said before, it was Cordelia S, as she likes to be called. I just decided that. I'll ask her person how to say her last name.
Scheuermann.
Scheuermann.
Wait,
probably
Cordelia Sermon?
Yes.
It could be Sermon. She did the sermon. Cordelia Sermon.
Scheuermann.
Sure, man.
Sure, man. Yeah. So,
I'm pretty sure, no pun intended, that it is Scheuermann.
Okay.
Okay, you're pretty sure that it's Sherman. And she did this sermon.
Scheuermann.
Got it. Excellent.
Well.
So, let's see. I guess.
Take away, Tim.
Okay, yeah. So for everybody that did or did not listen to Cordelia's sermon, it was really wonderful. And basically, she gave her testimony regarding like her faith journey, and she brought up like really interesting and insightful things, like not only how she relates to God, but also like different periods in history. For example, the Brown versus Board of Education was inspired by people like in their faith, like creating a really like comfortable and harmonious and just otherwise amazing like outreach for community. So that was really awesome. And then she also mentioned how I can't remember who it was, but it might have been her father that was skeptical and so forth. And then she mentioned Doubting Thomas, the Doubting Thomas story, and how that was that provided inspiration. And then she also mentioned how Jesus would wash the feet of his disciples, and I thought that was very touching. So overall, I just felt really inspired, and I was just really happy that she shared her testimony, because I felt like I could really relate to a lot of the stuff that she was saying, especially in the very beginning. She said that she connects with God in the way that like she sees and feels God's love, and I think she could correct me or like add to that when she comes on as a guest, but that's kind of how I see my testimony as well. Like I see God and all sorts of things. Like just feeling God's presence is like a huge one for me. And my faith has really transformed my life. Before I found my faith, I was skeptical and honestly lost in not only my spiritual life, but also my self-improvement life. And like God has really transformed my life. And it's just amazing and honestly surprising to think back to like the beginning when I started going to Palmdale United Methodist Church, and now how I am. Like I feel like a totally different person because of like the loving community here at Palmdale UMC, and then just my relationship with God has just blossomed. And like for anybody that hasn't listened to my testimonial episode, I grew up with a Christian background. But I eventually left my faith. I don't know if I really had it to begin with, to be honest. And I was very skeptical. I rejected all religion basically for many years. And it was one of my former bosses, now friend, that kind of opened me up to God again. Then I started looking around for, well, actually, I really just accompanied my mom at different churches. And I kind of just felt like an outsider, like I mentioned in the Methodist moment, and I felt like what really changed my faith was opening up the Bible for myself, actually reading through the Gospels on my own, like starting with the book of Matthew, and then I think I was going into the book of Mark, and it's kind of funny actually. I was on the King James version of the Bible because in the public domain, you can listen to the King James version, like no problem. So you had these like really great like audio book versions of the Bible, the King James version. And I felt like, I don't know, it was really neat that I was listening to that for my first like full on like biblical experience. And so yeah, I really felt like I connected so well with God at that moment, and that's when I discovered the Palmdale United Methodist Church. And then from there, it's just like my faith was growing. And then Pastor Jim and Pastor John, when Pastor John was here, they offered me like numerous opportunities to get involved. Like I did a Palm Sunday reading. I was in the Christmas pageant, and then I was doing scripture reading, and I also went into the choir, and then like Vacation Bible School, and now this podcast. I mean, I would not have imagined that I would be so involved in the church when I first came to the church. I mean, I'm totally flabbergasted in general, like totally amazed. Like God has just totally transformed my life, and I'll never be the same. And when I was a skeptic, I didn't even think that I would ever be able to accept religion again into my life. So I'm like, if I had the opportunity to talk to myself of like 10 years ago or whenever I rejected all faith, I like, it's just mind boggling really to think that it like a complete 180 on my spirituality. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I like about when, Pastor Jim asks members of the church to share their testimony. It's, we see, church members, that attend, we see them at church, but we don't know their story. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know, how God has impacted their life. And so I love that we are able to kind of hear from church members and be able to kind of peek in to a little part of their life, because obviously there's so much more that's going on with Cordelia's life. It's not just that singular, faith. There's, her day to day. What does she do when she wakes up? Brushes her teeth, those kinds of things that we don't hear about, nor do we need to hear about those things
next week.
we can ask her about those things next week. Absolutely.
About her brushing teeth routine.
Yeah.
Are you an electric toothbrush gal? Are you more of a manual laborer when it comes to
I'm sorry.
But it's just things. It's really encouraging because I think I can't help but think back to my faith journey as well. Just kind of like Tim, how you experienced that, and but I do love how there's so much that Cordelia in her history with like her family and education, and just how God has used her in different ways of her life, that now as a hospital nurse, she has this this Christian education and, servitude, like all these different things. And I'm trying to be serious, but my dog is licking the bowl of their food and it is like spinning it. And it is so loud. Like, sir, the food is gone. It is no longer in the bowl and he's just licking it. The tin shring, 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 in circles. Anyways, if you have dogs, you'll understand. But anyways, I do like that. I like seeing how God has used her in so many different ways throughout her life, and, being a church educator for 23 years, but like, that's not what she started as, and then she went to nursing school at the age of 57 and all those things. It's kind of like, it all kind of goes together. Like, had she not done this, she wouldn't have the skills and knowledge for that. And God prepares us for those things. And so I loved being able to hear her story and see how God was able to use her in different seasons of her life.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was really inspired by like how she, like, not only all those things that she did in her life with her faith journey, but also like how she now she works part-time in hospice, and how she's able to provide that faith perspective to people in their final days. And I could just imagine how many lives she's touching by being in that position. That's just like a wonderful place for somebody of faith to be in. That's honestly really beautiful. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not for everyone. I don't know how I could emotionally handle that. So I think it just speaks to her character and how much that she's been able to, anyways, I
also like how she said, ultimately, knowing all the things, like you have your doubts and your skepticism and so forth, like choosing to like believe in God, like that is sort of like a decision, like seeking God or following after Jesus, like being open to God, like open to your spirituality, and like loving God. It's something that we can embrace. Like we can embrace a life of faith. I mean, like we have in the like what's going to be our future merchandise, like faith it until you make it. Like actually, like open yourself up to faith. And yeah, I think that's where you have a transformed life. You have faith in God, and you love God, and you love your neighbor. So I'm really glad she mentioned that.
Yeah.
Beth, what did you think?
Well, I've always had a thing about origin stories. I've always been fascinated by origin stories, like not just superheroes or villains or whatever. You see like the beginning and what made them who they are. I love the idea of anybody's origin story, anybody I meet. I'm always like, especially the ones that require a little bit more grace to some, like, it's especially those people that I'm always like, I wonder what their story is, because for the most part, we're not grumpy for just no reason. Usually our circumstances have made us that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
In order to understand how a person is now, you have to understand where they came from. And for me, that's not just testimony and not just bringing us to faith. It's everything. As a person who's constantly working on myself and going to therapy, it's like I'm always having aha moments like, oh, the reason I do that is because this happened a long time ago. And so I just really, and also I'm also very curious about people like Cordelia, who just have that, like, you can definitely see Jesus's light when you talk to Cordelia. It's so the second you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed hearing like how she came to the religion, and I thought it was really cool about her great grandmother who taught the Native American kids, even though it was and
yeah, I think that's awesome.
And because of her, or maybe indirectly or directly, they made that a law that all kids could go to the same public schools throughout the country, I think is what he said. And I think that's really cool. And the last thing that he said is something that I have a lot of trouble with. He said, ease up on yourself. And when she said that, I wrote in my notes, that's for other people, not me. Which negates the entire testimony that she said. So,
right.
It did remind me of a meme that I saw. I did post it, but I'll share it. It says, it's okay to be a person struggling with productivity during a prolonged crisis. And then underneath, my brain, not you though, me.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. No, I get stuck in that pattern, and I know that we need to be nice to ourselves, and I would never, talk to a friend the way that I talk to myself and all of that good stuff. But it's still nice to have a reminder that all of us are way too hard on ourselves, even the ones who aren't probably as hard on themselves as the over.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, we just come to Jesus, and Jesus was he'll be there for us in all the times, including when our feet need a washing. So yeah, it's like if we're having hard times or being hard on ourselves, like that I think that's really I can relate to that a lot, Beth. But like eventually, I think we can give it to Jesus, and then we can kind of get that like clarity that we need. I think.
Yeah, I did like that she mentioned, and obviously we know this, but to use it as an example of just, Jesus didn't come to earth as a full-grown adult. He came to earth as a baby, and just like us, we're learning, and we learn things and all that. And so I really enjoyed that reference, because it was like, I never really thought about it that way. Like, he knows we're going to screw up. Like, he knows we're like, that's the intention. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed that, that perspective, that shift of perspective, because I've never looked at it that way. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I like how she said that he was fully human. And then she described some of the things that he might have been involved in as being fully human. And that's really neat, because it was a couple episodes ago that we were talking about how there's a lot of details that are not necessarily filled in the scriptures. So it's like you're left wondering, like, okay, what happened in all those in between times? where Jesus led his human life. That's really neat.
Yeah.
So, and then also like Cordelia being a Christian educator. I did not know that. I think that's really inspirational, and that's amazing that she was able to bring that to the world. That's so cool.
I'm going to throw it back real quick, you guys, to Stellar VBS. You guys remember Stellar VBS?
Yeah.
Yes. That's when I got COVID for the first time. How could I ever forget?
When life gets hard,
shine Jesus light. Yay.
When life gets difficult, get vaccinated. No, we can't do
it. What was the scuba VBS one? I should know that because I was there, but wait, what, Beth?
Oh, was it Thanks God?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was when life gets hard, or when you have celebratory times or whatever, you say thanks God, or even when things are rough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so gratitude to God.
Thank you. I'm going to keep thanking God. Sorry.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I'm excited to have her on as a guest next week. That'll be really exciting to be able to learn more about Cordelia, and maybe she can continue teaching us more about her.
Yeah, it's going to be like part 2.
I know.
Yeah, this is so exciting.
We're going to get the inside scoop.
Yeah.
He never uses hand motions incorporated into his sermons.
I know, he's going to have to now.
Yeah, this is like an upgrade opportunity for Pastor Jim.
He rose the bar.
Wow.
She rose the bar as Jesus himself rose from the grave.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Jesus is always raising the bar,
He's like, raise this. Anyways.
Not just with barn raising, which is totally different, but
that is a little bit different. Correct.
Actually, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that about Jesus raising the bar, because I think there was a sermon that Pastor Jim had about leveling up because of God. I think that's totally
different levels.
Yeah, there's levels to this thing. I think that's what Pastor Jim was saying. Yeah, actually, that might be really useful for a scripture journaling opportunity. Like how is God like kind of raising the levels for us, or how is he raising the bar? So yeah. So I think
we should dive into some prayer requests.
Yeah, that sounds like the right time to do that.
Tim, you got any prayer requests?
Yeah. I think this is kind of like a segue from what we were talking about in the Methodist moment, but I think we can all agree that prayer for everybody that's having problems with the fires in Southern California right now, whether it means being evacuated or having a family member or friend being sick, or someone we know that's sick because of the fires. Mm-hmm. Whether it's inconvenience associated with the fire, like not being able to get to work, not being able to see family members because of like traffic blockages. So just any sort of inconvenience or discomfort from the fires. So a prayer to all of those that are suffering, and all of those that need healing or comfort in this time. And then I guess a prayer for Rye. He's Rye Megarius or Megarius, I think you pronounce his last name. He's still in the hospital. I think he's getting better. And my mom and I saw him a couple of times, and we prayed for him, and So, but continued prayers would be much appreciated for him, because he's I don't know if he's been checked into the hospital for that length of time before, and I think he was at one point pretty scared about what was going to happen. So any sort of prayer would be like really an opportunity for him to gain his strength back and come back to the choir. So yeah.
He ill? Why is he in the hospital?
I think it might have something to do with his kidneys. And maybe he, I'm not sure if he's having other problems right now. But, I think they're having some sort of like, medical work done on him because of that problem. So,
Okay.
So yeah, it's, but he looked to be like, pretty energetic when I saw him last. So I think he'll recover, but definitely prayers could get him over that curve, I would say, and get him back to health. So,
yeah.
And then a quick prayer for me to just continue on this journey for my focusing and journaling, and reaching out to God in those moments.
Perfect. We shall pray for you.
Oh, thank you.
Prayers for my pregnancy.
Pregnant. At your nickname.
Pregnancy.
Yeah. Pregnancy. If you have been pregnant before and you have any words of encouragement for
Titled the compensation
for the third trimester, feel free to send those to Methodist to the Madness, and those would be much appreciated, because I don't know if this is how you felt, but everything is on max.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep, that's my prayer request. Beth?
Yeah, absolutely, Jessica. Prayer for you on that.
I did tell a mom at her baby shower that the best. Well, actually, I attended a baby shower where everybody arrived, and then the mom to be, even though she wasn't due for a few more weeks, went into labor then. So we just stayed at the baby shower and decorated the onesies and all that while she was preparing for labor at the hospital. So that was kind of a weird experience. But I had a C-section with Owen, and then I fought to not have a C-section with Jonah. I had to go to Bakersfield to do it instead of Lancaster, but I did it. And with Jonah, I just was so afraid he was never coming out. I was literally in labor for 3 days unmedicated, and it was the worst experience of my life. I was trying to go as natural as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those interested in knowing, I will be drugged if I'm going to get an epidural if I can. I am someone who supports any way that anybody wants to give birth. If you want to give birth naturally, in a tub, in a creek, on a roof, I don't care. I would like an epidural. I would like to not feel anything if I don't have to. Thank you to science.
I hadn't slept in 3 days, and so when I got my epidural, that was like the greatest blessing in the whole entire world.
Wow.
For the first time in like those 3 days. And when you're in labor, actively in labor, and nothing is happening, like you get convinced in your like crazy deliriousness that the baby is never coming out, that it's and like, you know, I'll just have a 16-year-old or whatever, 16 in my belly. But no, he did essentially. That's my biggest, like when you're in labor and you're worried that the baby's never going to come out. I know it's stupid, but the baby will come out.
Eventually.
Right.
Come out.
But it's good to know that if I have that thought,
normal thought,
this is my life now.
Yep. And you're going to think it.
Someone get me an iced tea.
And then you'll remember, nope, Beth said this isn't going to be forever. I believe Beth. She's never steered me. Anyway.
I was just thinking about like a fiction book possibility here. Like, oh, this person was pregnant for 24 years or something like.
And they did not live to tell the story. What did you say, Beth?
Calcified baby now. I think I saw or something, Grey's Anatomy. Anyway, continued those affected by the fire, continued prayers for Jessica and her pregnancy.
Yeah.
Prayers for my house, who seems to be all like recovering from the plague of ickiness that's been going around. I think I'm finally like through the worst of it, but and Jonah is, but we're still going through it. So just for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Will do. Yep. We shall be praying for that.
We shall be praying.
Well, guys, this was a really nice episode, being able to reflect with you and be able to also get some more insight on how things have been going this past week. But I'm really excited about next week's episode. And again, just to kind of reiterate, if you are seeking resources to try to figure out a way to help those that are affected by the wildfires, please email us. And I think that's...
We may be able to give some ideas about how...
we can absolutely give you some ideas. We'll share with you what Pastor Jim shared with us, and then some. So until next time...
Stay mad, you Methodists.
We all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.